Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're really excited to have you all here. Hope you enjoyed the music as a way to get us primed for this training that Alex and I are really excited to share with you and share the space with you this evening. So a brief overview for what we have in store for you today is just a high level way to give public comment and speak truth to power. And really meaning speak truth to those who are maybe in an elected position to represent the community, letting them know what our concerns are so that way they can represent us accordingly. So again, thank you for being here today. And I would like to pass it over to Miss Amy to kind of do an opening for us, and then we'll get into introductions after that.
Miwam, Hauka, Miahua, Miahuan, Hola. No tung Amy Admariaka, no Washnai, no Payonkowish, no Kwam Joseph Morales Delacob and Marcella Mason. My name is Amy Admire. I do many things, but one of my roles is director of the Rincon Youth Storytellers here at Rincon. I want to open tonight by reminding us, this quote here says, "Your ancestors did not survive everything that nearly ended them for you to shrink yourself to make someone else feel comfortable. The sacrifice is your war cry. Be loud, be everything, and make them proud." So as Lila June said, it is now our time. And there are things that must change in order that we survive. And so part of that is, like Miss Melissa said, speaking truth to power, and people who were put in positions to support communities. And I just want to share a little bit about how proud I am of the young people in this room who have found their voices. I was sharing with them earlier that I didn't find my voice till I was about 25, because in our communities, we're raised to be observant. We learn by doing and by watching. And so I spent a lot of that time doing and watching, right? And then at 25, I felt like I might have something to say. And what I found my passion to be speaking about is education and making sure that our students have their unique and specific needs met, and holding school districts accountable for our children's education and upholding that federal trust responsibility that we have between our nation and our sovereign nation. So thank you so much for having me this evening, and I'm looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you so much, Miss Amy. And yeah, thank you for grounding us in this moment. For, like you said, there's so much that the communities has been facing over the past centuries, and that are still facing today, that we need to stand up and fight against in order to overcome and continue to overcome a lot of these challenges that we're seeing in our communities. All right, so we would like to just go into some brief introductions so we can get to know each other a little more. We have a nice intimate group today, so I'm really happy about that. So my name is Melissa Elder. I am with the Rincon Indian Education Center. I've been a youth organizer for several years. I also volunteered with the Sunrise Movement with Alex. But with the Rincon Indian Education Center, for those of you who may not know, we focus on helping with education for our young people, providing traditional knowledge and options and opportunities for mentorship to deal with a lot of the issues that our communities are facing, to help provide the best way or path for success for our young people. And I'm, like I said, I'm really excited to be here with you all tonight. Like Ms. Amy said, you know, finding our voice is something that takes some of us a little bit longer than maybe others. And it's something that I've only recently come into, and I'm excited to share what I've learned over the past few years, finding that voice with you all today. So Alex.
Hey everyone, thank you for introducing Miss Amy and Melissa. So my name is Alex. I use he, him pronouns. based in Mission Valley right now, so kind of in like the central part of San Diego. And so a little bit about me, like growing up, I grew up in like a first generation refugee household. And like for me, it was like always listen to your elders, don't speak up, don't voice your opinions, don't voice your concerns, just do what you're told. And then so for me, it took me till maybe the last 2 years where I really started to hone in on what do I need as a human being. And I see that other people are hurting and I want to be able to help them help themselves. Everyone really is empowered to do the work that they can for their communities because we all know how. We all can do that for our communities. But sometimes there are things that get in our way that shuts us down, that silences us. And so we want to rebuild this power for ourselves. So I'm a volunteer with the Sunrise Movement. If you don't know, it's an organization of a bunch of young people, and we're trying to stop climate change by influencing the government because we acknowledge that they played a part in causing this, and they have a lot of money and resources to essentially flip it and reverse it. And so a lot of this is like going into policy, taking a stand to stop oil extraction, stop building pipelines, stop taking over indigenous people's lands that pollute the land, the water, our food, the air, and our lungs. And so politicians don't do that. We will replace them with new leaders and elect new leaders to fight for us. And so now I want to pass it off to the other community members if you all would feel comfortable introducing yourself. Either going off mute or either in the chat. Can I pass it over to you, Cassie?
Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself. But me, you, Natun Kasiwitin Yaka, Non Payam Kawachum. Hello, my name is Cassie, and I'm from the Pechanga Indian Reservation, and I work with Miss Melissa and Miss Amy at the Rincon Indian Education Center. I'm super excited to be here to learn more about ways to be an effective speaker, talking to the board and the school district, and I'm blessed for the training. So, wow, thank you.
Do we raise our hands?
It would be great if we could popcorn, actually. That's so Mr. Bobby, you would like to go next, that'd be awesome.
Okay. Hauka Chawai, Owampayo, Setnain Maha, Ichich Bobby Wallace, Perona Band of Mission Indians. My grandfather also was Pueblo from a little village in the Lagunas called Siama, and I'm glad to be here tonight. Thanks.
Thanks, Mr. Bobby. Ms. Christina, are you able to turn your mic on and introduce yourself? Okay, maybe we'll circle back to Christina. Okay, I see B. Aldridge. All right, looks like Mary Lopez unmuted themselves. So you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Oh my, I didn't even realize I was unmuted.
Well, welcome.
I'm glad I didn't do something embarrassing. Might as well just show myself. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Mary Lopez Kiefer. I'm a member of the San Luis Rey Band of Mission Indians. And I'm also in my daytime role, I'm the director of the Office of Native American Affairs for Attorney General Rob Bonta at the California Department of Justice. Really excited to be part of this discussion because I'm also working with the youth group for the tribe, and I'm responsible for the newsletter. You know, many hats. So I want to make sure I can share this information with them. And I want to say thank you to Amy for making sure I got the invitation. So.
Yeah, thank you for being here. All right, well, I guess not to put any more people on the spot if they're uncomfortable, but last opportunity, if anybody else would like to turn on their mic and introduce themselves, we'd love to hear from you.
Can you hear me?
Oh,
Yes.
Hi, I'm Lonnie Mckeel. I'm a member of the MHA Nation. I am reconnecting and I'm very new to the activism world. So I'm here to listen and to learn, and I'm excited to be here.
Thank you for being here. We're very glad to have you here.
I'll introduce myself.
Okay, go ahead.
My name is Laura Jaime, and I'm a Chumash of the Coastal Band. And I'm here tonight. My children go to school in Riverside at RUSD District, and I'm here just for some learning and enlightenment. I was invited by Cassie.
Awesome. Glad you're here. Thanks for joining us. Okay. Well, thanks everyone. Everyone for attending, and for those of you who didn't get to speak or meet yet, we're also happy that you're here with us today. And we wanted to start off with a little exercise. If you could drop in the chat or turn on the mic and just list out maybe a couple of things or some issues that you have in your community that you have seen, or any systemic problems that are affecting your household or your family personally. If you could just share that either in the chat or coming off of mute so we can have that for discussion. Yeah, substance abuse. That's a very big one that affects a lot of people, even within my family as well. Yeah, in the chat we have high suspension and chronic absenteeism. Challenges in receiving education, yes, especially quality education that is intended for our specific youth. Affluenza, incarceration, not getting treatment, yes. Mental health and depression, that is very accurate, especially in these times. Accessibility issues. Yeah, thanks all for sharing. Yeah, these are definitely all things that I have seen either personally or have witnessed friends or family members dealing with in their own lives. So thank you for sharing those. All right, so Alex is going to jump into the next part of our presentation here, talk about some of the issues and how we resolve some of those issues.
All right, thank you, Melissa, and thank you all for sharing what you're experiencing. And so kind of to think about this like in a really wide overall aspect, essentially a lot of decisions are happening behind our backs, and this is happening by elected people who are in government, in school boards, in whatever it is. And usually these decisions are happening and they are impacting our communities and we don't know about it. And on top of that, we aren't able to like play a part in that process because it's usually so complicated. How do I attend a school board meeting? How do I attend a council meeting? It's never something we're taught in school, and it's just not made to be accessible for us to understand and to be a part of. And then on top of that, because our community doesn't show up at these meetings, there people who are in this elected power are just like, okay, well, it seems like no one's complaining, so I guess there's no issues happening in our community at all. And so that's why we need to be loud. We need to be in front of their faces. And so that now comes to the point of how do we change the systems? And that is getting organized. That's what we're doing right here. We are getting organized. We're becoming activists. We're getting trained. And when we do that, then we can make our voices heard. And this is through public comments and by reaching out to elected officials who are in charge. And so this picture on the bottom right is just a little snippet of a film I saw last night. Essentially, there is the Paiute and Shoshone community near Los Angeles who had their water and irrigation shut off, and their entire community traveled 8 hours to make public comment, attend like a city board meeting, and they made public comment, and then the entire board flipped over to meet their demands. And that was just like, wow, that's incredible. It was really cool. And so now, getting that as context, we're going to learn about public comment. And so, and yes, Ms. Amy, our communities are a reflection of the people we elect to represent us. And so I want to ask real quick, does anyone know or heard of public comment? Like, know what that is? If you've never heard of it, please drop a 1 in the chat. If you've heard of it, drop a 2. And if you've ever done it, drop a 3 if you can. Okay, some 2s. So people have heard of it.
What was it?
1 is never heard of it. 2 is heard of it. 3 is I've actually done it.
I didn't hear you say it. You were muffled, kind of.
Oh, if I speak closer here.
Well, I can.
Public comment. Like if you've done a public comment, if you've only heard about it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, some 2s and then some 3s. Okay. Okay, another 3. Another 3. Okay, seems like, wow, seems like a lot of people have done it. This is amazing. That's great. So for, I guess, the people who may not have heard of it, which I guess most people responded they have heard of it. So it's essentially a space in some sort of meeting where a decision's being made. And this is a time for you to tell the people in charge, hey, this is the issues I see in my community, and this is what I want to see fixed. So that's essentially what it is. And so now let's go into what actually happens for us to get into that space, to get involved. So here is a typical scenario. So we're going to use an example of a county meeting. I know in your own communities, it could be a school board meeting or it could be a council meeting. So this is just general. It's very different depending on what you're trying to change. So first, what would happen is they post an agenda 3 to 10 days before the meeting happens. And in this agenda, we want to figure out when is it, where is it, and then what are they going to even talk about during this meeting. And so some agenda would look like this. It's a wordy document with lots of text. I think for me, the most important thing is location, time and date. That's the first thing. Second thing is, what do we want to talk about? So for me as a climate activist, I want to attend this meeting where they're talking about renewable energy. Whatever that is, whatever we're trying to attend, it could be different. And so now that we have this information, now we can start to work on our public comment. So we're going to show up to that meeting Wednesday, October 20 at 9 a.m. and we're going to talk about renewable energy. So now when we want to prepare a public comment before we attend this, because it's a lot better to have something prepped that we can read off of, we have our thoughts really coherent, it's really well thought out. And so usually a good structure for us to use is we start with an introduction. So, hello, my name is Alex, and I am a student at this university, or I'm a parent, or I'm a community organizer. Introduce yourself so then you know who you are and your role in the community. Secondly is now we want to talk about the problem. What is it that we see in the community? So this can be done with either stories or facts. Stories being your own personal experience, your family's experience, other people, your friends' experience, community members' experience. Because when you tell stories, that's how these people making the decisions relate to you. Because when we tell stories, we connect. We connect on our values, we connect on what is important to us, and we connect on what are people struggling with. The second component is the facts, because a lot of people in power, elected power, like facts because it tells us that it's not only just one person experiencing this, it's lots of people as a whole experiencing this. And it could be like 80% of XYZ experience this issue. So it's happening in a really, really big sense. And then after that, we then propose what is our demand? What is our solution? If we're seeing that lots of school children are facing suspension, now we propose that solution in whatever way that looks like. Any questions with this structure? I hope I didn't go too fast. Okay, all right, great. So now I think I'm going to pass it over to, wait, actually, is this you, Melissa, or is this still me? No, it's still me, my bad. Okay, so let's say now that we've written our public comment, we prepared it. Now, okay, day of the meeting is happening, the dawn of the day, and we're nervous. So this is what would happen. From that other example, we saw it was going to start at Wednesday, 9 a.m. So county board meeting starts at 9 a.m. This could be a school board meeting for you. This could be a council meeting for you. Then they go through their agenda, 1, 2, 3, 4, because we're trying to attend agenda item 4. So they go through 1, 2, 3, and then 4 is called. Now we're getting ready and we're like, okay, oh crap, this is where I'm going to get ready to speak. And so we're getting ready mentally. So the officials will speak, they'll have their presentations, they'll kind of talk about what is that they're going to be going over and voting on. And then the person who's administrating, who's the clerk, will say, okay, now after this is done, public comment is now open. Community members, please come up to the stand. You may now speak. You have a minute to speak. And then this is when you would give your speech. So you give your speech, and then after that, you step away, and then you essentially will listen to other people speak. For however long, how many people there are, it could be 20, it could be 300 people. Don't know. Depends on how many people show up. And so now I will turn it over to Melissa to kind of explain or to showcase what are effective and not effective public comments.
Okay, well, I talked through what's an effective public comment. Can you refresh the presentation? Because I put in a different video there.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay, so we have a little video here. It's an example, and this one in particular is actually a public comment that was given over Zoom. So public comments can be in person, but it could also be written via emails or by form. Sometimes some districts or counties might have a form you could submit, or if they've been doing it by Zoom, you would call in with Zoom and you would do something similar, but you would give your comment. So we're just going to go through a couple of examples. One is an effective public comment, and then the next one we'll talk through is what's like an ineffective public comment. So take a listen to this. It's a minute long, and make note of some things that you're like, okay, yeah, that makes it really effective, or like things that you think they did well. So go ahead, Alex, when you're ready.
Read your comment. You'll have 1 minute.
Good morning, Mayor Gloria, City Council members, and the city staff. My name is Rita Clement, and I'm a member of San Diego 350 and the Green New Deal Alliance. We have an opportunity to set up an energy distribution system that invests in our communities, meets our clean energy goals, and holds the franchisee accountable. For example, any franchise agreement must include a climate equity fund, a right to purchase clause, ensuring workers are fully protected during any transitions, and strong performance indicators. Please be strong negotiators and vote for a 1-year extension. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so feel free to drop in the chat if there's things that you think that they did well, that Rita did well in that, or if there's things you thought she could do improved upon, or turn on your mic and feel free to just shout it out. It was concise, yeah.
I feel like she did obviously the 3 things, right? Like stating who she was, clearly a member of the community, what her issue was, and then gave her ask what she wanted the the board to do.
Yep. Awesome. All right. Yeah, thank you. Thank you all for sharing. All right, so now we'll go to one that, okay, yeah, to summarize, yeah, it has an intro or it tells a story, clearly describes the problem or what they're talking about, and then has an action or demand to pound those back home. Okay, so now we're gonna look at one that's maybe not as effective. It's more ineffective. So pay attention and try to figure out what he is trying to ask the city council for.
Public comments on non-agenda items. Public comments are invited on non-agenda.
Please come forward.
My name's Craig Sheets. I've been battling this at City Halls, east to west. I've even spoken Pawtucket, Connecticut. I'm from Brea, California. Meth labs in the hills, FCC stations. They're subterranean meth labs. Here's the list of the Orange County seats. And I'm finishing up Newport tonight. I've already hit them all. You see the service trucks. That's how they get the chemicals up on the hill underneath those antennas, and then they roll the stuff out with the service trucks. They rotate the labs. That way nobody knows which one's going on at what time. It's very sneaky. Second of all, Air Force and Navy extraditing cocaine and heroin over to our country from South America. Then it ends up in freight and it ends up in refrigeration. That's to say at a certain temperature so that it does not melt. Okay, and then we're going to FEMA death camps. This is not a pretty sight. I was wrong about the coffins. That's a diversion. They're going to toss the bodies in all our water reserves. It's been done before. As well, the man-made water reserves, which like Brea Water Department in North Orange County, that type of thing, to contaminate the water. Then you got oil. Oil changes on vehicles being stored now and getting picked up is now being used for food grease. They, I don't know how they clean it up to where you can't notice, but it's pretty nasty.
Okay, so the gentleman continues on like this and then leaves. So yeah, let's see what thoughts you all have about his public comment. All right, so protection from chemicals, drug issues, and water protection. Valid, yep.
But he was just, I don't feel like his point was clear, or I didn't hear an ask. I just heard rambling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like maybe he did have some really important issues to discuss, but they weren't concise, and he didn't have a direct ask that he was asking the board or an action that he was asking them to take. He was just stating some things that he wanted to share and didn't have a clear action for the board. So yeah, if we might have a really important message to share, but if we don't have something direct and we're not very clear and concise, the board might get lost, or it might not be clear what we're asking them to do. Anybody else have any other thoughts?
Maybe he did a little too before the meeting.
Yeah, it seems to be a little bit as such.
I'm sorry, I had to just throw it out there.
Yes. Yeah.
And or too much coffee, eh?
Too much something, maybe. Yes. Yeah, no data to back up his story. Yeah, he was missing facts. So, I mean, I can't say whether or not what he was saying was true or not, but it was hard to believe the things that he was saying because he didn't have any facts to back up his story.
I was just gonna say that's why like preparation is really important. He looked like he had paper there, but we don't know what was on that paper, and it certainly didn't sound like he had like research on his paper.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Okay, well, thanks everyone for input there. So yeah, to summarize, there was no relevant action that officials can take. His message wasn't clear, and again, reiterating that there was no action. He just talked about some concerns he had, but then just walked off afterward. All right, so I would like to share with you all the first time I gave public comment, because growing up in an immigrant household. I was not privy to a lot of the political circles or like learning what to do in local governments or anything like that. So when I was 21, I heard about the mountaintop removals in Appalachia in the eastern United States, and how this type of mining was causing people a lot of health issues. The miners and the communities were suffering from black lung and cancer at higher rates because of the coal mining, and pollution from power plants are typically, the power plants are typically placed in the middle of lower socioeconomic groups, which are typically Black and Brown communities. And these power plants cause significantly higher rates of asthma and other health problems. So I was really distraught hearing about this and felt really compelled to get more involved. And there was a campaign on my campus called the Beyond Coal campaign, which specifically targeted schools to divest from and move away from burning coal. And because our school had a power plant right on site, which was actually just on the other side of the street from the building in this picture, students every day would be breathing in the carcinogens from this power plant, just like Black and Brown communities all over the country do. And so I took on this role for this Beyond Coal campaign at my campus. And I must mention that my school was historically a mining university. As you can see on the slide, our mascot is literally a miner. So I really felt like I was going into the belly of the beast. My student organization hosted an event where we were going to speak in front of a crowd at the school, and there was going to be elected officials. And I remember thinking that, all of these mining students are going to come and just heckle and try to disrupt our event that we're hosting. And I remember walking up to the microphone, and I had my notes in hand, and I was probably shaking quite a bit. And then I started to speak. And I don't really exactly remember what happened from the time I started talking until the time I stopped talking, because it just happened to go by so fast, it felt like. But I remember when I was done, I felt so relieved that, yeah, I was so scared, but I did it anyway because it was something I believed in. And also recognized, like, there was no tomatoes thrown at me, no one yelled at me or heckled me or interrupted me speaking. And I felt like I created this whole scenario, and that I was nervous for no reason. And I was so relieved to have it done, and so proud of myself, like I said, for standing up for a cause that I believed in. And in the end, the school proposed geothermal energy storage, which allowed them to tear down the power plant from service. So truth be told, I still get nervous speaking in front of people. My heart races, and sometimes my palms get sweaty. But they say that your body reacts to both nerves and excitement the same way. It's just the mindset that's different. So what I try to do is to take charge of my mindset and just tell myself that I'm actually really excited to give this public comment. And actually, it is exciting to take my future in my own hands, and the future of the community and my loved ones, by speaking my mind to those who have the perceived power. And so again, I'm sharing this story as a way to show that by overcoming our fears and speaking truth to power, our voices can and do have an impact. Like Alex mentioned earlier today, that he watched the movie on the nations that spoke to city council and they completely switched their vote. Like, it does work, and providing public comment is a way to take that message straight to our representatives in government. So we can tell them that we want the change, and they're there to represent our best interests. And if they don't, then we need to get them out. So with that, I would love if we could have a little bit of practice, all of us. I know most of you said that you've had some practice with this, but it can't hurt to have a little bit of more, since we're all in this safe space here. So Alex, if you would take us through our practice run here.
Yeah, all right, so practice time. So it would be really helpful if you either pull up a notebook to maybe write your practice script, or if you just have like a document on your computer, you can type it in. That would work too. So given this kind of structure for developing your public comment, what we're going to do is we're going to give you this graphic, which will give you facts that you can use. And then we're also going to give you a few demands. And then after we do this, we're going to give you time to work on your introduction and also to work on your story. So I think I threw a lot at you. So we're going to do the things in black first. So we're going to give you facts, we're going to give you solutions. And then the things that are in blue is stuff you're going to work on as a group in whole. We'll give you everyone like 2 minutes to write those out. So from this graphic, here's an example. We have a lot of facts. So just write one of these down and choose one of these. So we'll just give you maybe a minute. So choose the one you like. I think we put in boxes 3 with red. So these are some good facts.
Yeah, so these are some of the like issues that are facing our communities across the nation and some of the statistics. And of course, in our own community, some of those might be even more dire. So these are some examples just to get your mind thinking of some of the things that our communities are facing that we could maybe rally around to try to fix and address these barriers that are faced by our Native students. But if you have other ones that you would like to use or other examples, that's fine too. So I just want to give a couple of examples here of an issue that will help frame our public comment.
Okay, maybe 15 more seconds. Okay, great. Now we're gonna get a demand from this. So these are some possible demands that we could ask for. But if you foresee other solutions, you can also write that down. So 4 components: introduction, story, facts, and then demands. And then so choose one of these to write down or come up with your own. Oh, sorry to hear that, Bobby.
Yeah, it sucks.
Can we help out in any way?
Yeah, you know what? All I can see is my screen and with everybody's chats, and I can't go back to the screen that, you know, where I can see everybody in a line and, you know, all the facts.
Oh, got it. You want to see the facts again?
Yeah, I can't even get there. All I can see is just a chat.
Okay. Melissa, do you happen to have the graphic on a web page that we drop in the chat?
Is there an X box that you can X out your chat and it'll go back, or?
Yeah, I just did that and I see scenario. Let me go back. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I've got some multiple screens going.
Understood.
I'm sorry.
Perfect, perfectly fine.
Do people need more time to write down a demand?
I just want to clarify. So we have our name written down and where we're from.
Yeah, so we're going to give everyone time to create that introduction after this. So we're doing facts and demands first. We'll come back to that afterwards.
Okay.
Good question, Ms. Amy.
Yeah, and just to clarify further, just to make sure. So we're going to create a public comment based on a fact about what the community is facing or something that we're interested in, an issue that we want to address, and then a demand that we could ask that entity that has power to help fix that issue. And then we're going to add to those two components an introduction and a story. Okay, does anyone need more time to pick those two components? Okay, I think we can go into the next slide, Alex.
Okay. All right, so now that we wrote down the facts and then the demand, now we're going to give people 2 minutes to write the introduction and then to write a story if they happen to have a story that relates to it. And then let us know if you want us to revisit the demands or the facts.
I have a
I just wanted
question.
to say that I'm driving, and so I'm not able to participate. I'm just listening, so you guys know.
Okay, no worries. Thank you for sharing. Was there someone went off mic and didn't catch that?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, for this story part, would it be something that you've actually experienced, or will it, I'm just saying, like, if the problem we chose and we don't necessarily have a story to go with it, do we just make something up?
That's a great question. So it could be either something that you personally have experienced or something maybe that you've witnessed or you've heard about. Maybe you can tie it some way to, the purpose is to kind of evoke an emotional response or emotional tie to the people. And if it helps while you all are drafting that, I can give an example of a comment that maybe I would give. So if I were to use the graduation rates for Native American students as my action, and then my demand, or sorry, as the fact, the demand would be maybe allocating funds differently to better fit our students. So maybe my comment would be, hi, my name is Melissa Elder. I'm with the Rincon Indian Education Center. And then my story would be, as a daughter of an immigrant, I have seen firsthand what it's like to not have adequate support at home to do my schoolwork because of circumstances that weren't my fault. And like me, many students of color face similar hurdles or even trauma at home, which prevents them from reaching their full potential. Nationally, the high school graduation rate for Native American students is 67% compared to 80% of their white peers. As an institution of higher education, so assuming I'm talking to the school board, for example, it's your responsibility to make sure that all students are reaching their fullest potential. And that means providing resources to those who may need more in order to provide equitable education. So we're asking you to allocate more funds to address the needs of our students and acknowledging the importance of educational centers on campus in order to provide additional mentorship and relevant cultural resources to the students to help them reach their fullest potential. So there I had kind of like my own story. I tied it to the community and to the fact that the graduation rate is lower, and then what the school could do in order to address those issues. Okay.
And to add to that real quick, Anthony. So yeah, maybe if we don't have experiences with our own story, maybe we have stories that our friends have experienced, and we can tell our friend's story. If our friend had difficulty with graduation or retention in schools. And so it's also important to highlight other people's stories. If we don't personally have stories, that's how we uplift and work with our community.
Okay, so with that, I will go ahead and break you all into some breakout rooms. So it's going to be in pairs. So hopefully you all were able to just draft. Again, this is just practice. We're in a safe space here. So we'll go into pairs into a breakout room, and then each of you can take 1 minute to do your practice your public comment, and then we'll come back and kind of share any thoughts or feelings, or if you want to share your comment that you practiced, that would be awesome. So we'll do some breakout rooms, and if you're in a breakout room by yourself, come back to the main room and I'll put you in another group with someone. Okay, while we're waiting for everyone to get back, feel free to drop in the chat if you have any thoughts or things about how you were feeling when you were going through that. Welcome back, everyone. Feel free to drop in the chat any thoughts or feelings you had going through that exercise. feel free to come off mute if you have any questions or comments about that you'd like to share with the group, or if you'd like to share your comment, we'd love to hear it.
So it was really fast for us. And my friend had bad reception. I like Christina's comment.
Okay, well, thanks, Miss Amy. It was pretty fast. Yeah, I know we're kind of coming close on time, so I wish we could have given you more time, but hopefully that gave an idea for everyone that not too scary to come up with a public comment, and after a little bit of practice, it can start flowing really easily. Anyone else have anything they want to share?
Are we ready to go and do it?
I hope so. That's what I like to hear. All right. So on that note, Mr. Bobby has great thoughts about actually getting out and do it. So we have an opportunity to put those into action next week at a school board meeting in Valley Center. There's going to be a public hearing about impact aid, which is federal dollars that come for our Native American students. If any of you are familiar with those green forms you might have filled out, that's where that money comes from. And this impact aid meeting will be an opportunity for us to voice our opinions and concerns about where that funding should be allocated. So some of us will be there talking to the board, asking them to redirect some of the funds for direct services to address some of the issues that we're seeing on campus to help our Native American students, such as having full-time aides on site. So if you're able to attend, it is Tuesday at 6 p.m. at the Valley Center High School. And we would be extremely happy to have you there. We would be willing to work with you and help provide or help draft up a public comment and do some coaching and practicing if you'd like, and give some tools so that way you feel really well prepared and equipped to talk at this meeting. So if anyone would like to attend, please drop a star in the chat. We're happy to follow up with you afterwards with a reminder email. And
I think it's hybrid too. Is it Zoom?
It's not Zoom. They do.
Oh, it's strictly in
broadcast
person now?
it. Mm-hmm. They broadcast it. It's like recorded that you can watch it, but you can't make comment, unfortunately.
Mm.
So yeah, feel free to reach out to any of us if you would like some support, or if you have any questions or like some help to put some of these trainings into action next week. All right, and with that, I'll let Alex close.
Miss Melissa, Christina has a comment.
Oh, sorry. Yes, it is. And I will paste in the link here in the chat.
And then I just wanted to say too, I know Melissa and I talked about earlier, and Mr. Alex, that we'd be happy to also help you with your own actions. So if there's other things outside of like our district that you are advocating for or want support on, we're happy to help you. So just let us know. Thank you, Christina. That'd be awesome.
Thank you all. So super quick story to close on, to essentially hopefully inspire you to just understand that the feelings that we feel are real. So about a year ago, I made the decision to go do a press conference. I was like, whoa, I've never thought I would ever speak in front of cameras before. To protest against a state senator who was trying to push for more drilling, oil drilling. And so I remember the thought of me just before even going there was just like, oh my God, what if I get attacked by angry neighbors? What if I get like even shot or get like yelled at? And there's just a lot of fear happening in my mind. And just like, what is worst case scenario for happening if I go attend this? And then when I showed up, I started talking. And after that, I was like, wow, that was actually not too bad. Like, it was really scary in that moment leading up to it. but after doing it, it was really not that bad. And then I thought back to it after telling my friend, and then he was like, "Whoa, that was kind of badass. You just went up to the senator's house, spoke in front of him, in front of cameras, and then you just made a statement." And I was like, "Wow, yeah, I guess I did. That was pretty cool." And so it's not as scary as you think, even if there is a lot of fear in speaking up. It gets better as we practice. And lastly, I want to hand it off to Miss Amy to close for us.
Oh, thanks. I just wanted to share that, some of us on the line are California Indians. And as California Indians, we are the descendants of approximately 10,000 people after living through 3 genocides. And we're very sacred. And even if you're not Native, you are also a sacred being. And it behooves us all to support one another. And we really rely on allies to help our people, to provide for our existence or to help support us to continue to be 1% of the population, right? We talked about earlier, there's nothing less than 1%, and people normalize that a lot, but that's really just how sacred we are and how much we appreciate people's support and turning out for us and showing up. So thank you all so much. And again, we're so grateful to be able to help you too. If you just keep in touch with us and let us know what your needs are.
And then lastly, if you want to stick around, this is just like a really lighthearted way to end this session with a video about how council members just had this cat filter. So we'll just watch it real quick. I'll stick around.
Mr. Ponton, I believe you have a filter turned on in the video settings. You might want to.
Can you hear me, Judge?
I can hear you. I think it's a filter.
It is, and I don't know how to remove it. I've got my assistant here. She's trying to, but I'm prepared to go forward with it. I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
I can see that. I think if you click the up arrow.
So yeah, I heard that was like really funny to watch, but in essence, like these council members are human beings. They're not the scary authority figure. They are human beings who make mistakes, and like we're on the same level. They are not better than us. We are just as strong. Our voices are just as strong, and that's what I want to leave you all with.
Thank you all for attending.